You heard Alvin Kamara after the wild card game. The only man with better sources inside of the building than AK-41 is Nick Underhill.
Yep.
Nick
Respect.
tweeted it out. He only rocks it the best. That is off the bench every Tuesday. Compliments of our friend, former LSU Tiger, current attorney, Chris Perrette. This is what
Got
it's.
better sources than me is Nick. Nick. Every time something dropped, Nick got it.
Hey,
Hey. How we feeling today, Nicky?
hey, I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Doing good, man.
That had to feel good, huh?
I got to send him a big check, but I mean, it was nice.
But again, that's why you should sign up for New Orleans Football.
Exactly right.
Like literally, if AK is telling you that he has better plugs than Alvin Kamara, what are you doing not signed up for New Orleans Football? Go sign up today.
Nick, you've been asking for, just like everybody, waiting to see what the Saints were going to look like when you had a lineup that featured Mike Thomas, Alvin Kamara, Andrew Brees. The world saw it on Sunday. What'd you make of it?
I thought it was a little slow going, to be honest. I think it took them a little bit to get into their rhythm. The first half, I thought, left something to be desired. But I do think in the second half, you started to see some signs of it. It started to click. They looked, a lot better than they did in the first half. The standard, I think, for this team is really high. And I think we were all waiting and expecting something. And, it's kind of like when a movie's been overhyped forever, like Tenet. You're watching the Tenet preview for a year because it keeps getting pushed back, and then you finally see it, and you're like, that's it. Like, that's kind of how it felt in the first half. But I think in the second half, it started to get there a little bit. And, look, they were an inch away from, scoring 28 points in a playoff game. And I'd say to keep that in mind, too. It's hard to score points in the playoffs. You're going to get everybody's best shot, and they almost put up 28. So it could be worse, but I do think they need to play a lot better than they did this week. I think the blocking on the offensive line was a little bit shaky. When they would run their stunts, they struggled with, switching off and working together to block those. And Tampa does a lot of that. So if they're having those issues this week, I think that's the big thing. That interior line all the way up till the end, that's going to be the main thing we're looking at every week is the possible point of weakness, because there just hasn't been that performance yet. But I thought Mike looked okay. They got him going. I think there's a little bit of shaking off, but I do think also, like, you saw him open up that degree of air that Brees can kind of put the ball out somewhere and Mike's going to bail him out. And there were a couple of those, and I don't think they had that before. So positive signs, but it's got to be better.
So going into the game, you had a great article in New Orleans Football that was looking at Drew Brees and kind of maybe pointing out that maybe the time off did him some good, even in terms of like some of the shots they were taking more shots downfield, having more success when he was taking those shots. What do you think? Like, with that break, even though maybe not having the Eagles cost you the 1 seed, did it lead to an overall more healthy and like more ready to roll Drew Brees?
Yeah, I think it's kind of plainly obvious too. And man, the conversation just every time somebody talks about him, it feels like they aren't watching him play. But then I see how people react to Justin Fields. He went from being the number 2 pick to like a career backup, in the matter of a week. So people just kind of see things and react. But I think if you're watching this team, you see that he's throwing the ball down the field more. He's been more aggressive. It's just I don't know how you can miss it. I think early in the year it was pretty obvious that something was hampering him, and I wouldn't be surprised with Brees when the season ends if somebody has a story. They're just kind of waiting until everything's done and it doesn't matter, and they lay out that there were maybe more injuries than anybody knew about. But I think that he looks better the time off. He's going down the field. I think there's a little more pop in his arm. It's not Patrick Mahomes, but I think that he can throw the ball well enough that if, things get taken away, he can still beat you. But this team's built in a manner in which that they're, winning with Brees. And it's not every week that they have to win because of him. It's not 2015 anymore where they're riding his arm to victories. The team's strong enough, and the defense can keep them in a game. They can run with Alvin. They block well enough. And if everything goes away, Brees is still there. And I think he's shown enough that you would have that confidence that if he's got to hit a pass 18 yards outside the hash on the sideline, he can hit that now. And I don't know if in week 2, week 3, anybody would have felt that. And it's just, he had the right shoulder injury that was listed every single week. I think it got downplayed a lot, but the one thing I heard when he was coming back from the ribs and the lungs was the shoulder's healthy, and it's like, oh, I thought we were talking about the ribs, but like that was holding him back, and I think he's good to go now.
Yeah, Nick actually has he has 4 great video clips in the article in New Orleans Football that really drive home what he's bringing up. Brees does look way healthier. I love that it's paired with Alvin Kamara and Mike Thomas also getting nice little breaks to be peaking at the right time. But what about defensively? Obviously, that's how you won both these Bucs games, especially game number 2, where the defense just absolutely dominated. Has been the emergence of Antonio Brown. Just from a reductive standpoint, Nick, is it Marshawn Lattimore on Mike Evans, Janoris Jenkins on Antonio Brown, and C.D. Deuce on Chris Godwin?
I think that would make the most sense. I mean, Marshawn, he's the greatest cornerback to ever live in this game every year. So 3 times, I think they'll get it again, and he'll probably play really well. C.J. Gardner-Johnson matches up well against Chris Godwin the first 2 games. He was on him a lot, really didn't give up much. So if he ends up in that matchup, I think they feel confident with it. And then, like you said, I think you just work down the line, and that kind of puts Antonio Brown and Janoris Jenkins together. And, Jenkins can move with him. He should be able to cover him well enough. I don't know if that's, the greatest matchup, especially with the way Brown's playing. He's starting to tap into that, greatness that he had before, and he's getting better every single week. That first time they played, it was his first game, and I don't know that they were, all the way in there. So the full complement's kind of on display now, and, he's doing a lot. They get him in motion. They hand him the ball. He's explosive, and he can do a lot. So they're going to have to be aware of him. But, I think overall, I like the matchup. I don't know how you can't. They beat them twice. I don't think it's 38-3 again, but, I think, going into this game, there's a lot of stuff that the Saints do that matches up well with what Tampa does. And, they should feel cautiously optimistic about what they're going to be able to do this week.
Nick, one thing that could really help, obviously, in that regard would be how you beat them 33 in the first. It was the pass rush. You raised some great points in another article on New Orleans Football, where in game number 1, it looked like the Saints used a lot of 3-man pass rush, right? In game number 2, it was almost exclusively 4-man pass rush. You have a line about but you can never do the same thing against Tom Brady twice. He's kind of like the Borg in that way. How do you, do you have any theories on maybe how they look to affect that pressure once again? Because like you said, if you get to Brady, he will show his age.
Yeah, that's the thing. When they send 4 guys at him, and the Saints did it well. They were the one team that really did it well. But I think when Brady sees it coming, it doesn't affect him. I think you got to do things to speed him up. And I don't think they're going to win the way they won in the first game. One of the things that helped them hit that 4-man rush is how quickly Trey Hendrickson was winning against Donovan Smith. So as I say this, you might be able to create that again. But I do think that you got to bring some heat at them, keep them guessing. One of the things the Saints have done really well this year is they'll start off with, a 3-man front, and they just kind of muddy up the picture with the guys in the box, and you don't really know where they're coming from. And look, Brady's been around forever. It's hard to fool him, but I think if you just have to give him that, 0.2, 0.3 seconds of indecision, that can be enough if, Marshawn's locking down on the outside, C.D. Deuce has got Godwin, and, you got somebody covering Antonio Brown. But, they're going to have to do some different things. They've had success against him playing quarters coverage, and that's basically, if you're just looking at the field, it's a vertical zone, split into 4 quadrants, and they play it like that. They got 2 picks off them like that. Brady's thrown 6 against that coverage all year, so I would expect to see a high dose of that. But, you just can't be static against him. You got to find different ways to just change up the picture, keep him guessing. And this year, especially last year, I thought it was true too. If you speed him up, he's not gonna be able to handle it. You saw it against Washington last week. Plays throughout the year, I think 55 plays, he's been moved off his spot by pressure, and he's below 50% passing on those plays. So it's just you see him too. If you watch him enough, and a team's getting good pressure on him, I hate to say this, but you'll see him ducking as if people are coming even when they aren't coming sometimes, and he starts to speed up that clock. And I just think he knows that he can't move the way he used to. And, you know, when he feels like he can't protect himself, that's when you start to see the issues with Brady's age come out. It's not often it happens. The Saints did it once, though. And, you know, if they can do it again, just even at half that level, I think it becomes a lot easier to beat this team. And that's how you mitigate all those weapons.
You got a status report on Trey Hendrickson? You expect him to go?
Yeah, so I checked after this game day to day. He kind of got knocked up in practice a little bit. He had the stinger and just, you know, it bit on him again. It's not a new injury, same injury. You know, they knew last week for sure he was out. This week it's just kind of a day-to-day thing. So I think he does have a chance to play. It's just, you know, you just got to feel better. It's been a tricky injury for them this year. It kept Deontay Harris out for a while, and, you know, now it's lingering on Trey a little bit.
It's the best in the business. New Orleans.football.
One more real quick one, Nick. What do you make, 30 seconds a minute, whatever, what do you make on Will Lutz?
I think it's a little bit overblown.
Okay.
The only real misses I think he's had this year were really against Philadelphia, and then there was an extra point. You know, he's missed 2 where he's hit the laces. There was a miss against Atlanta where he slipped. He missed a 50-yarder this week. You know, I think if you got the laces the right way, didn't slip, you take 3 away. That's 2 misses in Philadelphia and the wind, and then he missed a 50-yarder. And I think maybe the conversation we're having is a little bit different. But, I mean, you really got to look at that operation and why it was failing.
Thank you, Nick, as always. Nick Underhill every Tuesday right here on Off the Bench. Make sure that you get over to NewOrleans.football and get subscribed today. Looking forward to the report next Tuesday.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Always.
Thanks, Nick.
Nick Underhill checking in. Close that hour 2 next.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, go ahead and like and subscribe below. You want more great Saints content? We got it all here on Off the Bench Overtime. Check out these other videos, share with your friends, and let's grow the Who Dat Nation together. Who Dat?